Live from Columbia, this is Sports Talk on the South Carolina Radio Network. Be a part of tonight's show. Call us at 800-956-7266 or email talkback@sportstalksc.com. Now, here are your hosts for Sports Talk, Phil Kornbluth, Kevin McCrary, and Tom Hayes.
Speechless. We've had at least a 2-touchdown lead in the fourth quarter and lost the ball game. Of course we can fix it. You know, we got 3 games to play. We got to fix it. You can't ever give up on your kids. You can't ever give up on your system. You can't get any worse, so eventually they got to get better.
You know, obviously the thing you don't want to do is rush someone back. And again, he looks good throwing the ball right now.
A Monday night from downtown Columbia. Phil Kornbluth along with Kevin McCrary, the Professor Tom Hayes, ready to get things rolling. A brand new week of Sports Talk. First time we've done Sports Talk this year where we are, well, not maybe the first time this year, but the first time since we moved to Main Street that we're in the dark when we open up the show. A lot of people think we're in the dark all the time.
Some people would argue that we've been in the dark for a while.
The Gamecock defensive coaches.
Oh, they really are in the dark. Boy, that was I was at USC Tennessee on Saturday night, and I don't know what you can say about the Gamecock defense.
Speechless? Are you speechless like Whammy?
I think I am.
Speechless.
When you watch them, it's hard to believe that Division I football players who are recruited to play defense play it so poorly as South Carolina is right now. So I don't know if they don't coach them in practice, if they don't do the things in practice to lead to better defensive players, or they just recruited bad players across the board. They get no push from their defensive front. Defensive ends can't separate from the offensive linemen. Linebackers and secondary can't tackle. It's a horrible combination pro to have on one defensive unit, and what you get is what you have now at South Carolina. But I'm going to say this too. The defense did not play well, but they gave the team a chance, a 14-point lead with just under 5 minutes to go. And so they gave up a quick touchdown. You need your offense to go back out there and do something, eat some clock, get a first down or two. And again, in the same situation they had twice before, the offense could not do anything in the last few minutes of the game to help win the game at that point.
I tell you what, guys, the first thing I thought of when they got the 2-touchdown lead was the movie with Bill Murray, Groundhog Day. And I said, wait a minute, 2-touchdown lead, a little less than 5 minutes to go. The Vols have them right where they want them, because here's the script is just flipped. It's like they're in a time loop, and they just freeze up. Defensive players panic. Last touchdown to tie the game. 2 defensive players in the middle of the field. One receiver goes across the middle. You always protect the middle of the field. Both linebackers or defensive backs goes with the one receiver and leaves the middle wide open for the touchdown to tie the game and send it overtime.
All right, we'll take your calls. Love to hear what you have to say about the state of Gamecock football now. 800-956-7266. We'll be right back. All right, we're back at Sports Talk 800-956-7266. Email talkback at sportstalksc.com. Twitter has been on fire at SportsTalkSC since Saturday night. Make sure you sign up to join us on Twitter. Our website, also very hot, is at SportsTalkSC, and on Facebook, Sports Talk Radio Network. We'll get to your calls in just a moment. A couple lines are open, so move quickly to grab them. Let me update some of the major stories of the day, and we have quite a few today. Let's see, a lot to choose from. Marcus Lattimore, let's begin with him. 49ers coach Jim Harbaugh said today that Lattimore is still considering all options about his future. He's going to talk to his family before making a decision. This came at Harbaugh's weekly news conference. An announcement of some sort from the 49ers is still planned. He did not say when the announcement would come. ESPN reported today that Lattimore is considering retirement due to his ongoing knee issues. His agent said today no decision has been made. So let's hope that this is not the end of the football line for Marcus Lattimore. You'd love to see him get an opportunity, but if the knee's not good, the knee is not good. Ty Rodgers, who Steve Spurrier said yesterday was off the team and was transferring. Not only is he back on the team, he's now at defensive end. John Whittle from the Big Spur reporting from the USC practice today that Rodgers was back out at practice today. He'd been reinstated to the team, and he's going to play defensive end now. So they need help over there.
Good way to get back on the team. Volunteer to play defense.
Going to give him a shot to play over there where they do need the help. ACC TV, November 15th, Clemson at Georgia Tech, 6-day option. It'll either be a noon kickoff or a 3:30 kickoff. The same day, USC at Florida will be a noon kickoff on the SEC network. And let's see. Oh, yeah, this is big. That new appellate panel formed after the Goose Creek debacle a couple of years ago reinstated Camden and Dreer to the high school football playoffs today.
Ding, 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 ding.
Yeah. The vote comes after the high school league initially voted to keep a postseason ban in place for the two teams who had a brawl following their game October 17th. And so there you go.
Did they give a reason?
They got it done. Coaches at both schools, I'm just reading the state newspaper story here. Jimmy Neal said he just appreciates the system working, very happy. And obviously it's a great time now. So anyway, this is what the appeal panel was created for, to be able to hear the arguments beyond what folks inside the high school league hear. And apparently they feel like now you wonder if the high school league will go back and rewrite its rules, saying that, fighting is not an offense that's going to get you kicked out of the playoffs.
Or case by case basis. But it's maybe I don't know. I watched the video of that and I couldn't really see anything. The state newspaper had the fight, and it didn't look like it. It wasn't something that looked like a crazy melee where guys were swinging helmets.
It looked like a NASCAR fight.
No, exactly. It didn't look like what I was watching on Fox or whatever channel the race was on.
That wrestling broke out at the end, which was great.
Everybody loves it when the NASCAR guys fight, but then, you see that in high school. Oh,
but I'm going to tell you two things. I think Gordon and Harvick way out of line. I didn't think Gordon had a reason to go fight here. I thought Keselowski just went for an opening on the restart, got his car in there. They rubbed a little bit. Unfortunately, the fender cut in on Gordon's tire, and he dropped back in the pack. But, I mean, that's just good, hard racing there. He didn't punt him into the wall or anything like that. And then Harvick acted like a little girl. Oh, I shouldn't say that. He acted like a young child.
Email him pcornblue@learfield.com.
He pushed Keselowski into the crowd, and that started the fisticuffs. And I got to tell you, that's one of the worst brawls I've seen in post NASCAR racing.
Tell me this, bottom line, don't you think Gordon was, he'll say he's upset because the guy hit me.
They just rubbed. They didn't hit, they rubbed.
But when the timing of it, I mean, Gordon was last lap?
It was a restart, a green-white checker restart.
And I think that's what got Gordon was. You know, if it
Come
had
on.
happened early,
He's bigger than that. I think I don't.
I kind of
bigger than that.
two guilty pleasures I like this weekend: the brawl at NASCAR and Maryland standing there not shaking. I mean, guilty pleasures.
I had two more guilty pleasures.
Oh, did you?
Cowboys losing.
Oh, okay.
Love that. And 0-4. That's all I got to say. Let's go to the phones. 800-95. You know what I'm talking about.
Purple and gold.
800-956-72. This is going to be so much fun watching the Lakers lose this year.
Are you going to? But are the Celtics going to beat the Lakers?
I think so.
Even though last year the Lakers were one of the worst teams in basketball.
Mm-hmm.
They beat the Celtics twice.
Yeah, I think this is our year.
They tend to beat the Celtics a lot.
I think it's our year,
even when they're bad.
To the phones. 800-956-7266. Kenneth in Augusta, Georgia, right across the river. Hello, Kenneth. How are you? And welcome into Sports Talk.
Oh, I'm doing very well. It's a pleasure to listen to you guys every night going home from work.
Well, we thank you.
Just a few observations. I'm not a coach by any means, but I'm very competitive. I'm in my 50s, and if I'm going to play a game, even to this day, I still play to win. A couple of things that I was just questioning about. Talked about the recruiting and the defensive players you guys mentioned earlier. If they're really not as good as what they were supposed to be, because they were supposed to be top 20 recruiting classes, can you take their scholarship from them? Give them incentives to actually go out there and put out 110%. The Kentucky game, when the one player kept running from the spur and just killed us. Why in the world did we not put a linebacker on just that one player and tackle him every single play, or at least have one man dedicated to just stopping that one guy?
A spy.
That one man defeated our entire team. Third observation was in the game against Tennessee. Tennessee blitzed all night long. I don't think I saw us blitz 10 times the entire game.
Can't afford to blitz.
3-5 package instead of 5-3. My only question to that is, how's that working for you?
Yeah, they don't have five or defensive linemen.
Well, you know what I thought he was going to say is they blitzed all night. Where was the screen pass?
You can't. But I mean, you really
scored.
It's hard to criticize the offense except for the last 4 minutes.
They had a 42-28 lead with 5 minutes left.
Yeah.
But I'll say this about the players. Now, maybe they were overhyped, some of them, and certainly Lorenzo Ward saying they were going to be better, had a chance to be better on defense than they were last year.
By the way, they're giving 4-year scholarships now.
But here's the thing. I don't think it's an effort issue. I mean, I don't see guys lollygagging around out there. I think they're playing with maximum effort, but I think they have no confidence, number one. They seem like they're reaching at straws, and this goes from the coaches all the way down the line. Lorenzo Ward doesn't seem like he says he's speechless. Well, that's not a coach shouldn't be speechless. A coach should understand what's happening out there and know how to fix it. I don't think he has an answer, and that should be very troubling if you're Steve Spurrier and you've got a defensive coach that didn't know the talent enough to say, Coach, we might be in a little bit of trouble here with some of these young guys. They're not quite ready to play, and two, doesn't know how to fix it. Their technique, their form, they just look like I mean, I know they're practicing every day. I know they're trying hard.
I don't think they practice tackling.
Well,
I don't
that's
think
a Spurrier thing, too.
I don't think they go through the physical, good-on-good segments of practices to make you tougher and make you better defensive players. I don't think they do that.
But you've played so many games. You'd like to at least see improvement, and they're not getting better on defense. Right. I think you can make an argument they're getting worse.
Well, you know, from a psychological standpoint, here's the key. South Carolina's players who came in before them knew the program had struggled for years. And they were the guys, they were the hunters. We got to do something about this. The newer guys who have come in only saw, or in their minds, saw the Gamecocks win, so they figure putting on the uniforms and we win football. It doesn't work that way. And the guys before them, like a Lattimore and others, you tell them, say, look, now, you know, we had to fight to get to this position. You guys coming in here, like if you show up, you can win a football game. And they look just like a confused bunch. They look like Georgia's defense against Florida all of a sudden running a wildcat type offense. I don't understand how defenses can't stop that thing.
Yeah,
a
lot of people have wondered about that. Why can't you know the guy's going to keep the ball. Why can't you stop him? We'll be right back. More of your calls. course, adding to the Gamecocks' angst over the weekend, it was just coincidence, really, that this came right after they lost. But they lose one of their top recruits. Austin Clark decommits and commits to Virginia Tech, and they may lose more out of this class as the weeks go on because guys are setting up some official visits, and you got to keep an eye on Arden Key, their longtime commitment at defensive end, who is going to visit Georgia the weekend before signing day.
Well,
of course, he is from Georgia, so that's got to be a scary thought for the Gamecocks. 800-956-7266. Back to the phones we go, and it's Mike in Rock Hill. Hi, Mike. Welcome to Sports Talk.
Hey, Phil, thanks for taking my call. And if what I talk about has already been discussed, I apologize. I just got in the car from work.
It's okay.
But I just thought it was amazing. The last two series, number 11 does not touch the ball one time, and he was probably at least half, 3/4 of the offense. And the fact that we can't get the ball to number 11 just blows me away.
Yeah, and also when they had to, if I remember correctly, when they attempted that field goal, they were down close and they got stopped and attempted the field goal. I don't think he was on the field either for those plays down inside the red zone when they attempted the field goal, the 37-yarder into the wind.
Right.
That looked like it hit a wall about 2/3 of the way there. That wind was so stiff. Yeah, that was very interesting. You know, especially in the overtime, we can all second guess Spurrier's think you guessed it. But if they hit a pass, if they don't get sacked and he comes out and completes a pass and maybe gets in the end zone quickly, nobody thinks anything about. They threw the ball extremely well all night long, so there was really no reason to fear throwing the football again, except they forgot how to pass protect.
I mean, you got to have a
but
safe
I will
play.
say this. They had Brandon Shell out there, and he was on a bad ankle. And I think he was the one that got beat on that first
I
sack.
think he should have been out there.
Yeah.
Phil, it's sometimes I think you got to shock the other team's defense. See, when South Carolina starts to pass a lot, the other team gets rhythm in rushing the passer. If they'd have come out there in overtime in the Wildcat, they would have freaked.
Yeah, maybe so. All right, put Cooper in there and see what you got.
Mm-hmm.
Thanks for the call. Back to the phones we go. And it's Mike in Sumter this time around. Hi, Mike. Welcome to Sports Talk.
Hey, guys. Hey, I think the professor hit it right on the head with these guys. These guys here, man, think just because, Clowney's gone, Lattimore's gone, and they think just because they put on that jersey and play for Steve Spurrier, it's going to happen. I don't believe so. I don't know if any heads should roll on the defensive side of the ball. They definitely got to go back to going back to the basic strength, conditioning in springtime, wintertime next year. And also, too, guys, I'll say this. We were talking about this at work. If I was a Georgia fan, Mark Richt needs to go from Georgia. After the way they played Saturday against Florida, if you can't beat Florida when they're down, one hand tied behind their back, and you know what they're going to do, he's been there how many years now, underachieving?
14.
Yeah,
Yes.
It's time for him to go.
I read a column out of Macon today by one of their sports writers who was really coming down hard on Rick, saying, what protects him and what saves him a lot is his personality and his church-going behavior. And people have a hard time criticizing him for football because of that. Be right back. right, it's Sports Talk from downtown Columbia here on Main Street. Sports Talk, your Sports Talk show of Main Street, South Carolina. Good to have you with us. It's Phil Kornblut, Kevin McCrary, the Professor Tom Hayes, and you across the state. 800-956-7266. Don't forget Clemson back in action on Wednesday night. This is not an exhibition game. This is a real game against Wake Forest, even though Wake Forest is just a cut above a high school team, to be quite honest with you. 2-6, 0-4. Tickets are available for that game, if you're wondering. And that game's going to kick off at, 7:30 over in Winston-Salem. K-Mac will be making the trip up to Winston-Salem to cover that one for us. However, on ESPN Thursday night games at BB&T Field over the years, Wake Forest is 4-1. But Clemson, after a week off, they'll be hungry and ready to play, looking to pound another offense. Already, coach over there he made the statement over the weekend. He's wondering if they'll get a first down against Clemson's defense. So Clemson has got Wake Forest. Then the Tigers, of course, go to Georgia Tech. Then they get Georgia State. They get South Carolina. They've got 10-2 written all over them, and another big game, maybe back down to the Orange Bowl or something like that. So
could be a double-digit favorite in all those games. Maybe not at Georgia Tech, but certainly they're big favorite this week, and they would be right now pretty big favorite at home against South Carolina.
And I know they're doubtful. I know he's doubtful, but I'd love to see Deshaun Watson get some action Thursday.
Yeah, he is now listed as doubtful.
He is doubtful,
which means he will probably dress and be on the sideline. And if they want to try to work him in, they'll work him in. But it shouldn't be out of need. I expect that Cole Stout will go out and have no trouble moving the football. And the thing for Clemson in this game is, can they get their running game going in a big way to where they have confidence in it moving down through the last 3 weeks of the season. All right, let's get back to your calls. By the way, the Steak Man is back with us from Las Vegas. What happens in Las Vegas stays in Las Vegas. We understand that, Steak Man. He was out there to see Fish, the concert, a couple of nights.
But apparently he lost some kind of bet because his head is shaved and he shaved his beard off.
Yeah, he looks like he just came in from prison or something, minus the tattoos. 800-956-7266. Riley over in Lexington. I'm sorry, it's Ricky over in Lexington, listening to us, we hope, on our station in Columbia, The Point, 1470 AM and 95.9 FM. Good evening, sir. How are you? Welcome into Sports Talk.
It's good to be back with you guys again, Phil.
Yes, sir.
A couple of things I did want to talk with you about. Did you see Butch Jones go nuts on the sideline when Brandon Wiles ran that 70-something yard touchdown play?
Absolutely, I did.
Did you find out what the reason?
I think because his defense stunk. Had 10 men on the field. 10 men on the field. Yeah, understand he had 10 men on the field. Yeah. 10 men on the field. Yeah, that's crazy. But I did want to talk with you guys briefly, and I know you haven't mentioned it, and that's about Spurrier's press conference. It's okay for him to give himself the game ball and sign autographs and talk crap about other coaches. But, when things are going bad, just like always, he's pouty. And, he wants to run the media the way he wants to run it. He's not going to stand there and answer any questions. Very unprofessional. And it was beneath him. And quite frankly, it was cowardly. And, there's lots of questions to be asked. And he said, well, he talked with Todd Ellis. He did talk with him. There was no questions asked of him. And I did want to get, you have been in broadcasting for a long time, K-Mac and Tom, I know you have. And to act like that and not ask, not be able to answer any questions. I just want to get you guys' opinion on it. I'll hang up, and it's good to talk with you guys again. You too. He should have stayed in there and answered questions. There's no doubt about that. He's paid millions of dollars. He's responsible for the football program. You're right. He's in there during the good times. I will say this. During other bad times, during other bad losses, during embarrassing losses, during heartbreaking losses, during losses where he made bad decisions that came back and cost them games, he has sat in there and taken questions. Yeah. This is the first time that he has not. I'm a little bit willing to give him a small break. This loss obviously got next to him like none other. No loss to Clemson, no loss to Georgia. no loss to Florida
To Vanderbilt
has gotten to him like this one did. Now, he has special feelings about the state of Tennessee having grown up there. Plus, as he said, they've lost games this year to teams that he felt like they should beat. And this is one of those games that he felt like they should have won, and they coughed it up again.
I think he was afraid of what he knew he was in such a place. And again, I don't disagree with the caller. You got to, but I think he was worried that he was going to say something that he would regret the next day. And he wanted to get out of there, cool off, flush it. And he did his coach's show. He did the conference call on Sunday and answered questions. And I think he was really in a place where he was just so torn up inside about that game. He was afraid that somebody might ask him about the defense, ask him about Lorenzo Ward. And he might,
somebody's going to ask him about
and he's that guy, and he might say, "Yeah, we got to make some changes," and then he's got to deal with that. I mean, he said that everybody's safe yesterday, but he also snuck in that little thing. Every coach evaluates things at the end of the season. I would be shocked if there isn't some sort of shakeup. And I'm not saying that he's going to fire Lorenzo Ward, but I would be shocked if there isn't some sort of shakeup on the defensive side of the ball. There has to be after this kind of performance.
Well, he also snuck in 2-year. They have 2-year contracts.
South Carolina shouldn't be worried about the money if it comes to that. But
I will think this, though. Spurrier, I think, also left Lorenzo Ward in there and say, "Okay, fine, you explain what happened to your defense."
Well, he came in there and he tried to answer questions, but like he said, he was speechless.
Right.
He had no answer. And as K-Mac said early on, that's not a good thing. You got to have answers. You got to say, well, we're out of position, or we're deficient in particular areas. We're not that talented. We overestimated the quality of our players, whatever the case may be. But you look at them, and I'm telling you, some of the guys on their defensive line look fat and out of shape. They got guts hanging off of them. I hear this stuff every offseason about how great the weight training program is at South Carolina and what kind of shape they're being whipped into, this, that, and the other. Take a look at some of those bodies. Now, maybe that's the body style they want on those guys.
Well, Chelsea Quarles had that body style, but he got penetration.
Well, he was a different type player.
Yeah, exactly.
And just fundamentally, I mean, you'd think they would fall in front of somebody and get their way and slow them down. They whiff on tackles, get out of position, take bad angles, all things that even if you're lacking talent, you should be able to do that. Get good leverage, make fundamental plays. They don't do that, and you have to wonder why. And then the coaches are saying, I'm speechless. After the Auburn game, Lorenzo Ward said, I thought I knew it would be bad, but I didn't think it'd be that bad. It's just
what I've been told is, when Ellis Johnson was there, he insisted to Spurrier and got his way on this, that at least once a week they went one-on-ones so the defense could match up against the best. They hit. They did that to help prepare the defense. What I'm told is they're not doing that now. They're not having those physical type practices. They're not getting the defense physically prepared, especially against the ones, because Spurrier has always been scared to get somebody hurt in practice, and maybe he's got to change that and let the defense get out there and hit somebody and be better prepared.
And they go 1v1, but they don't tackle to the ground. And there's a big difference between just wrapping a guy up and tackling him to the ground. And sometimes, All
right, back to the phones very quickly. And we go to Sammy in Pickens. Hello, Sammy. Welcome into Sports Talk. Sammy. I think Sammy has evaporated.
Speechless.
All right, break is there he is. All right. Hey, Sammy.
Long-time listener, 30-plus years listener, Gamecock supporter. Just a few comments about the last 3 or 4 weeks. I think Spurrier has done more for South Carolina had. But I think his play calling in 3 ball games has cost us. I think he cost us in the Missouri game by going for it on 4th down on the very first drive of the game. I think he cost us the Kentucky game by not running the football. And I think he cost us the Tennessee game by not running the football.
All right, hang on, Sammy. We got to hit a quick break, and we'll come back to you and let you finish up in a moment. Okay, we're back. We've got recruiting coming up for you in just a couple of minutes. David Shelton on the other side of the top of the hour break with the high school stuff tonight. Spurrier from his conference call yesterday, and also let you hear from Lorenzo Ward what he said after the game, so you can actually hear the voices and the way folks sound right after a game like that. I think it's always interesting to listen to what they say and also how they say it. So we'll bring all that to you coming up. Right now, back to your call. Sammy is still with us from Pickens. I think he was calling in from before we hit our break. All right, Sammy, thanks for waiting. You're back on the air.
Yeah, I feel like I was saying, a long-time listener, 30-plus years, I enjoy your show.
Yes, sir.
In a Gamecock supporter, I was saying that even though I think Spurrier has done more for South Carolina football than any coach we've ever had, but I think in 3 ball games this year, instead of us being 4 and 5, I think he's cost us 3 games with some of his play calling. For example, the Missouri game, going for it on 4th down on the very first drive of the game and giving them 7 easy points. Kentucky game when he should have been running the ball, and then Tennessee game when it was 3rd and 4, and he tried to throw a pass, and then in the overtime situation, when you're down 3, you need 3 to at least send it to another overtime, and he calls 2 straight pass plays, and we get sacked for 15 yards on 2 plays.
Yeah. And I didn't understand the field goal either.
That.
The field goal.
Yeah, that was fruitless.
A 57-yarder. I mean, I know you had the win, but that just seemed like
he would need more than a win. He would need a jet blast.
I mean, he hasn't made a 57-yarder. I mean, and that's a long kick for an NFL guy. I mean, you're in trouble there, certainly, but I think throw a ball to the end zone, maybe you get a pass interference. You got to have something. Call a timeout there and regroup and try to do something. But
terrible management.
It was like they just, I think they were so stunned to even be in overtime. It was like everybody just.
But you see, they shouldn't be. I mean, really, that's like the poor excuse, the lame excuse for not going for 2 after scoring against Missouri because they were shocked that they scored.
Well, I mean, nobody's in the stands. I mean, it was just a bizarre.
It was a crazy day. Weird day.
They're dressed for a funeral, all in black.
All right, back to the phones. Thank you for your call. We go to Gamecock Will in Easley. Next up here on Sports Talk. Good evening, GW. How are you?
I'm doing good, Phil. How about you, bud?
Man, I'm doing fine.
That's good. I live here down in Tyler Town. There's a lot of rumors going around. The Spurs going to quit after the year. And, everybody wants to put the blame on Mr. Spurrier. But, Spurrier's not going nowhere, first of all, but he's not going out a loser. Everybody knows he's a competitor. He's going to go out. And as far as we lost 6 defensive players last year, and we lost Tony Shaw and Ellison on top of all that on offense. Number 2, we got to be realistic. I think Spurrier, don't get me wrong, he's been there 10 years, and he's made some boneheaded calls, I agree. But what coach hadn't? Every coach in the country has made some boneheaded calls one time or another.
Sure.
The Spurs have been averaging 30 to 40 points a ball game. You can't help but the man getting frustrated when the defense can't make 1 or 2 stops. We should be 7-2 right now. Ain't no way. Defense makes 1 stop against Kentucky. They make 1 stop against Missouri, 2 stops against Auburn. We're 7-2, point blank. And the bottom line is, you can't blame this on Spurrier. So when I look at it, get rid of the. I've been taking up for Lorenzo Ward all year long, and I love him as a recruiter, as a coach. But it's time for defensive stuff to go in my book. I mean, Spurrier has got to make some defensive changes, or it's going to be the same thing next year. But I will say this, and I hang up. I want to see Connor Mitch is not ready. Curry Orff is not ready. And you say Menez probably won't be ready. I want to see Farrah Cooper all spring, all summer, fall as a quarterback because he played quarterback in high school. I want to see him as quarterback next year as a Gamecock. If he knows the system, I think if you gave him a lot of reps, I think he'll be a dual threat quarterback. I think he will hurt a lot of teams.
But the problem with that, and you're right, I hear what you're saying. The problem with that is, right, you remove him from the passing game, you remove him from the surprise of the Wildcat, you remove him from the end around, you remove him from the punt return game. Pharaoh Cooper is a lot of different weapons for South Carolina's offense all rolled into one person. Now, of course, the quarterback position is so important. If they don't have anybody else ready to go, and they might not have anybody else ready to go, they might have to do that. Here's another thought. Now, this is one of those, well, that's good news, or, well, that's bad news. Because they are so young on defense, they do return 8, maybe 9 starters based on the formation that they start out in. So they've got a young defense that maybe can build on and improve if the talent is there to build upon it. Be right back. All right, coming up on the top of the hour, don't forget we have a whole nother hour of sports talk, and we do take calls in the second hour. Been filled up here in the first hour. Love to continue with your calls in the second hour. We don't go away. If you lose us over the airways for one reason or another, you can continue to hear us on our website, which is sportstalksc.com. We have an audio feed at the top of the page. We have a video feed at the bottom of the page. 2 of our stations stream us over iHeartRadio if you have that free app. WGVL in Greenville, WSEA in Myrtle Beach. We mentioned Lorenzo Ward. If you didn't actually, maybe you've seen his words written on the internet or in the newspaper, or maybe you've taken a listen to it off our website. In case you haven't heard exactly what he said after the game, here he is answering the question about what the heck is going on with your defense.
I don't know. It was speechless. It's third time. We've had at least a 2-touchdown lead in the fourth quarter and lost the ball game.
Coach, you opted to go with largely 3-man rush there on that final drive. And what was the thought process there?
Well, again, they needed a touchdown. Had no timeouts, and the coverage we was playing was we know that the quarterback would have time, but the opposite of it is to get the ball thrown in the middle of the field, can't get to the sideline. And he got out a couple times on it, ran out of bounds and stopped the clock. But it's our form of prevent defense.
Lorenzo, is there anything that's fixable this year, or is it just kind of is what it is right now at this point?
Of course, we can fix it. We got 3 games to play. We got to fix it. You can't ever give up on your kids. You can't ever give up on your system. You got to keep working on it.
You say you got to keep working on it, but you guys aren't even able to consistently tackle. How can you fix things like that?
You keep practicing tackling.
Is there anything else you can do you haven't done? I mean, you've moved upstairs. I mean, is there anything left to try?
Or you just keep working at what you're doing. You can't get any worse, so you eventually got to get better.
Whammy's probably thinking I should have done what Spurrier did and just make a statement and walk out after getting those questions. I mean, he obviously, at least publicly with us, doesn't have any hard, fast answers. I mean, and listen, I guess they're in a position too where they are limited personnel wise. When you have a walk-on, a 7-year-old walk-on, 28-year-old walk-on who starts a game for you, does pretty well, hadn't played since, and now you've got a guy that you just kicked off the team, gets reinstated, and now he's been an offensive tackle, and you're moving him to defensive end in the hopes 9 weeks into the season, they're still trying to sort out personnel.
But see,
that's not good.
One of the things is these guys aren't aware. For instance, play like Marquise Roberts. You're aware that the ball is about to hit a Tennessee player on the foot, the rolling punt. And just before he hits his foot, he downs the ball. I mean, those things you got to notice.
But you can't anticipate that. You can't anticipate
you saw the favor on his foot. You got to wait. You got to wait.
Okay, top of the hour.
Live from Columbia, this is Sports Talk on the South Carolina Radio Network. Be a part of tonight's show. Call us at 800-956-7266 or email talkback@sportstalksc.com. Now, here are your hosts for Sports Talk, Phil Kornbluth, Kevin McCrary, and Tom Hayes.
All right, we're back with you here, Sports Talk, South Carolina Radio Network on this Monday night from downtown Columbia, 800-956-7266. Our visit with David Shelton coming up. Let me give you the recruiting report for tonight. And our recruiting report is brought to you by South Carolina's Electric Cooperatives, sponsors of the 2014 Touchstone Energy Bowl. Hope to see you in Myrtle Beach coming up December 13th for that terrific All-Star game. Of course, USC loses a commitment. Offensive lineman Austin Clark, Lexington, Virginia, told us last night that he just felt like he had to decommit and go to Virginia Tech for personal reasons. Said that he feels Virginia Tech's the best fit for him. Nothing to do with the Gamecock struggles this season. Been thinking about this for a couple of months. He went to Virginia Tech Saturday, and he said that what he saw there, a lot of similarities to South Carolina, plus it's 4 hours closer to home. So USC now with 27 commitments for the 2015 class. Offensive lineman John Simpson of Fort Dorchester was at the USC-Tennessee game, and he enjoyed himself, talked to coaches Elliott and Sands and some of the players. USC was the first to offer. Camped there last season, went to 2 games earlier in the season. And he said the USC season really doesn't impact how he feels about South Carolina right now. He will not be back for USC's final home game. He will go to Clemson for the Georgia State and USC games. The Tigers are his other offer along with USC. He was at Clemson a couple of weeks back. And he's also drawing interest from Alabama, and his Alabama recruiter was by the school on Friday. Right now he has USC and Clemson even at the top of his list. He said he is stuck between the two. USC commitment for 2016, receiver Kyle Davis of Lawrenceville, Georgia, says his commitment's very strong, but he does plan to take other visits. Was not able to make a USC game this season. Several other schools remain in touch, though Georgia hasn't contacted him since offering. Davis has taken visits, but isn't sure yet where he will go. So they'll definitely get back to USC during the offseason. Basketball, 6'6" P.J. Dozier, Spring Valley. His dad told us yesterday afternoon that they're looking at Saturday for his announcement, likely over one of the ESPN outlets in Charlotte. They were at USC's Colonial Life Arena yesterday for the women's exhibition game, but that was not for recruiting purposes. It was there to watch PJ's sister, Asia, who plays for the USC women. USC, Georgetown, North Carolina, Louisville, and Michigan are the 5. Michigan is in today to visit with the family. And Perry Dozier said he expects coaches and staff members from all the other schools to be in this week as well. And he said that his son just has to decide, does he want to go ahead and leave town and do it from there or stay here in terms of staying close to home. That's what the decision basically will come down to. We're scheduled to interview Perry here for Sports Talk on Wednesday. Not Perry, but PJ. Scheduled to interview him on Wednesday and bring that to you on Wednesday night. Be right back. And we're back. Sports Talk, 800-956-7266. David Shelton coming up in just a moment. Let's go to Ellen in Hampton for our next call. Hi, Ellen, and welcome into Sports Talk.
Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
You were speaking earlier about Lattimore.
Yes, ma'am.
Might not be retiring.
Yes.
How could he retire? He hasn't played any.
Well, retire, give up football. That's how they would term it, because he's under contract with San Francisco. So he would, if the injury situation has gotten to the point where there's no hope of him being able to recover and play at a high level, then he would just be retiring from the game, retiring from the 49ers.
But he would not get money.
No, I don't know what kind of situation they'd work out for his contract. I'm sure that his agent will work out some sort of a golden parachute for him of some.
And I don't know what his insurance policy was like at South Carolina. You know, some of those, if you don't play a snap in the NFL, maybe they pay out. But if you get drafted and get on a roster, they don't. The bottom line is, it looks like Marcus Lattimore lost millions of dollars playing for free at South Carolina. I mean, that's just the cold, hard reality of it.
But without playing college football, he'd have never had a chance to go to the NFL. He wasn't going to go from Burns to the NFL.
No, but the problem is
have to play college football somewhere.
This is where it hurts a guy. I mean, it's tough when you see a guy that literally gave everything. South Carolina made millions of dollars off Marcus Lattimore, and he lost millions of dollars at South Carolina. That's not South Carolina's fault, but that's where you wish there was still. And I'm not talking about paying players, but there was a better way where guys like Marcus Lattimore, who have given so much to the university, and lose it all on a freak injury, whether it's not a percentage of the jersey sales go back to him or ticket sales during that time or something.
Did he not have any kind of catastrophic injury insurance plan?
I don't know.
I'm sure he did. Could that apply in this case?
Maybe. I don't know what his
never was
looked
able
like.
to play again.
K-Mac is right. If you're healthy enough and you're drafted, some of these insurance don't pay out
if you get on a roster.
If you get on a roster.
Yeah.
Now, the key point is this: because he's Marcus Lattimore, and I mean the person, he's going to have millions of opportunities thrown at him to further his career. And if it's just me, if I'm Lattimore, I'm thinking about it. Hey, let's go on to the next step, because at 50 years old, I still want to be able to walk.
Mm-hmm. All right, thank you for your call. 800-956-7266. Get back to your phone calls in a moment. Let's welcome in David Shelton from the High School Sports Report. He joins us here on Mondays and Fridays on Sports Talk to review and look ahead with high school football. David, good to have you with us. And David's report here on Sports Talk, our high school football report, brought to you by South Carolina Farm Bureau Insurance. First of all, what's your take on the first action by this recently created? I know it's been around for a couple of years, but I think this is the first real public action that this new appellate panel has taken with its ruling today, reinstating Dreer and Cam.
Well, I think you're going to see a lot of this over the next many years. I think you're going to see this appellate panel overturn quite a few decisions. And to be honest with you, the case law or the constitution law or whatever it is that they cited today was right on. You don't have an entire football program for the actions of 11 players. You take action against the 11 players that you identified through the film that were the aggressors that were at fault, and you let the rest of those 35 or 40 guys go play in the playoffs. I mean, it goes all the way back to that Goose Creek thing. Sometimes this stuff smacks of so much logic that it blinds us.
Mm-hmm.
You penalize, if you and I are in a car and I'm driving and we're speeding, I get the ticket. You don't get the ticket. I mean, it's simple as that.
Mm-hmm.
And I think they did the right thing. In years past, there would have been no appeals process. This would have been it. They would have been out of the playoffs, but fortunately this is in place. And, I'm not saying the high school league executive committee is wrong, but, basically that appellate panel basically said they were wrong. So, there you have it.
Yeah, but and I don't disagree with you, and I'm happy that we have this appellate panel to take a look at things and offer a hopefully nonpartisan decision. Part of the problem with the executive committee of the high school league, it's viewed as being highly partisan. Hopefully this panel is not a partisan group. But what they're doing in their logic that you're explaining to us kind of smacks with the long-standing punishment policies, not just of the high school league in South Carolina, but take a look at the NCAA. When somebody runs afoul of the NCAA rules, they don't often just punish the individual. When they put a team on probation from bowl games and things of that nature, when they sanction you, they're sanctioning a bunch of innocent people. But the theory has always been it's a football team, and you win as a team, you lose as a team, and you get punished as a team.
Yeah, and I can totally see that point. But I think in the case of the NCAA, you're talking about most of those. Well, now they don't put anybody on probation. I mean, but they penalized Gurley. They didn't penalize the entire Georgia football program for what he did. So I think you're coming around to that kind of thinking. Back in the day, it was lack of institutional control to where things happened and football programs were put on probation. Now they're saying, okay, you may have control. And maybe you got a few bad apples or a few guys that are trying to benefit. And hey, we could talk for 2 hours about whether the guys should be able to do that. But they didn't penalize Georgia. They didn't say, hey, you're going to forfeit 4 games that he played in. And I think in this case of the high school league, I never liked putting the high schools in with the colleges. I think high school is a little different, a little more pure for me. And I just think, because of the long-standing rule, that just because it was long-standing doesn't make it right. But the appellate committee basically said today was the rule says that you take the guys that are at fault and you suspend them, which the high school league did. There were several guys missed 2 games, and then they penalized them next year, passing leagues and things like that, which is all well and good. I mean, I got no problem with it. I mean, I saw the tape. It was a pretty bad brawl. It was one of the worst ones I've seen. But the appellate process is good. I think, even if they would have come back today and said, you know what, we're upholding what the high school league said, what the executive committee said, I would have had no problem with that.
Right.
But I think the process is good that they're doing it this way.
I agree. Call it the Chuck Reedy rule. All right. From Friday night, we had a few surprises. Chesney knocks Woodruff from the unbeaten ranks with an 8-point win. Greenwood hammered Westside. Thought that game would be a lot closer. Lancaster beat Broome. How about North Myrtle Beach upsetting Myrtle Beach? And then, obviously, the game of the night was how Burns came back at the very end, kick a field goal to beat Dorman.
Yeah, and you remember Friday night when we were doing the show, and I said, it's going to be one of those 42-40 games. And then I said the next sentence, I said, or it'll end up being 17-14.
Yeah.
Well, you just never know with the guy. You just never know with high school kids. And I didn't think either defense would play very well, and they both go out and play lights out, and they win. Burns wins on a late field goal. Obviously, with a classic, you might see it again in a couple of weeks. I think the biggest upset of the night in my mind was North Myrtle Beach beating Myrtle Beach. I just think that, to hold that offense at Myrtle Beach to 11 points, I think it was. I can't remember the score.
14 to 11.
But yeah, I mean, that's just incredible because the Seahawks can put it up in the air. They can run it. They can do score a lot of ways. But having said that, I think this was good for them. I think this will refocus them. I still think them or Hartsville is going to win the lower state in 3A, and hopefully they'll both make it to where they can play each other, because that could be another classic game that we'll be talking about.
All right, David, thanks as always, my friend. Have a good week, and we will talk to you on Friday. And look for your stuff at High School Sports Report, HSSR, High School Sports, no, HSSR.com. How do I get my letters together? HSSR.com, and also, of course, with the Post and Courier. Thank you, David. Talk to you Friday.
Okay, man. Take care.
All right, David Shelton. Yeah, some surprises on Friday night. Now we're set for the playoffs in 3A, 2A, 1A. The 4A guys have one more week of their regular season, and then they will have their playoffs. With the big boys, it's certainly looking like you could have Dutch Fork, you could have Burns, you could have Dorman, could have Spartanburg. Spartanburg has come to life and played some great football of late. All those could be contending for the championship. All right, thanks again to David Shelton for being with us here tonight on Sports Talk. Let's jump back to the phone calls, 800-956-7266. We head next to, we think this is Wayne, and we think he's from, do we know where he's from, State Man? Can't read his handwriting. He's either from Camden or where? Or Greenville. All right. We think you're Wayne, and we think you're from either Camden or Greenville. Welcome to the program. Greenville. Okay.
I don't want to talk about the bad things about the Gamecocks. I want to talk about a play I saw.
All right.
Okay, we're still up by 7 points. We had the ball in this scored touchdown. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
And third down, let him try to pass, and they sacked him.
Right.
Remember that?
Mm-hmm.
Got him out of jersey. Wait a minute. Got him out of jersey and threw him.
Yep.
That's fine. He started to get up, and here comes the other guy and just shoved him back down.
Mm-hmm.
You see that?
Yeah, we were just talking about that off air a little while ago. He was looking for a flag. He was looking for a flag after that.
Definitely could have been flagged.
Here's sort of candy scrapper right next to him. He didn't call him anything. And earlier in that game, if you sack somebody, that's fine, okay? But if you lift them up on the ground and drive them, that's a penalty. They did it twice on Dillon.
Supposed to be. Mm-hmm.
You know, and I don't understand that. I've seen football I'm 70, for a lot of years. If you sack them straight on, that's fine. But if you lift them off the ground and drive them to like a wrestling match, it's a penalty.
That would have been a first down, and that likely would have won the game for South Carolina. They would likely been able to run out the clock. Yeah. Mm-hmm. That happened. There was 1 minute and 33 left when that sack occurred.
Yeah, I know it was low.
Mm-hmm.
I said they're gonna call that because they just threw the guy, and he did it, and he just pushed him.
Mm-hmm. Well, this goes, and thanks for your phone call. This goes back to what I was saying earlier. The Gamecocks, they have the 14-point lead, 42-38, with 4:52 to go. Okay, so Tennessee puts a drive together against the defense. They make it 42-35. The Gamecocks recover the onside kick with 1:50 to go. So they're at the Tennessee 43-yard line. All right, 1:50. I mean, you could have eaten up with a first down. You could have eaten up most of that clock. I'm not sure what Tennessee's timeout situation was.
They had 3.
They still had 3.
Yeah,
okay,
and they didn't have to burn one. Tennessee didn't use
right,
one.
They had them all in their
pocket. They had them all in their
Mm-hmm.
pocket when they got the ball back.
No, they didn't.
Yeah, they did.
Yeah.
No, looking at it right here. Mike Davis rushed for 4 yards, timeout Tennessee. Mike Davis rushed for 2 yards, timeout Tennessee. Dylan Thompson sacked for loss of 8.
So they only had one.
Tennessee. So they used all that series.
Okay. So they got the ball back
with 1:23 with no timeouts.
With no timeouts.
Right. And they went right down the field. Well, it started with a 31-yard pass.
Mm-hmm.
Sound
prevent
familiar?
Defense. I mean, prevent defense.
Then a 9-yard pass.
Yeah.
Then an 8-yard run. Then an 18-yard pass. An incomplete pass. Then a 10-yard pass. Incomplete pass. And then your touchdown pass. So, but going back, I mean, your offense, you're good enough for 90% of the game to go up and down the field against this team. And then when you need to go get a first down somehow, some way, you can't. Not only can you not run, all of a sudden you can't pass protect. I mean, that's why, yes, it's fair to blame the defense, but the offense carries some responsibility. We'll hear from Steve Spurrier coming up in just a moment. Let's take another phone call here on Sports Talk. It is Billy in Florence. Hi, Billy, and welcome into the program.
Hey, guys. Thanks for taking my call, and hope every one of you are doing well.
Yes, sir.
I was going to just make a comment and hang up and see what you guys think about it. It's evident that Clemson, a lot of people talk about South Carolina being young and rebuilding. Well, it's obvious that Clemson's rebuilt their offense. Just losing Sammy Watkins, you turn on the television, DeAndre Hopkins, Andre Ellington. I mean, these kids, these guys are racking up fantasy numbers. I mean, Jerron Brown caught a touchdown yesterday. I mean, it just goes on and on and on. And they're not shying away from the defense. There's a lot of NFL players that's coming out of Clemson, and I think the future's bright. But I want to ask you guys, do you think that the next couple of years, and I've heard you Phil comment on it, could be really special? I mean, let's don't kid ourselves. There's a lot of people, a lot of personnel that's going to be lost off that defense. But Scott Pagano, the Hawaiian guy, the guy from Hawaii, which is a beast, Ebenezer Okwadeko, Curse, the five-star talent, Mackenzie Alexander, which is a lockdown corner. Corey Rogers is back. I mean, depth galore. And then you mentioned this. Ray McLeod, Deion Kane. Ray McLeod looks like he's going to play tailback. Deshaun Watson's probably going to put on some weight. I'm assuming that's what I heard. And you've also got Tucker Israel, which is a kid that's broke a Florida record, threw for 600 and some yards, and Kelly Bryant. Albert, I could just go on and on and on with the talent. Does it look like on the number one offensive line class coming in, do you think the Tigers are set up for possibly a next couple of special years? Because I personally think Deshaun is going to take over the ACC when Jameis is gone, and that's what I think. And I'm just going to kind of hang up and listen and take see if Clemson's about to just take that next step in that top four, and I'll hang up.
Yeah, I thank you. Yeah, I have felt that 15, 16, 17 stand to be this is going to be a big year. The way they're going now, they're looking at 10 wins. But we're talking if they can get past that bugaboo of Florida State. Of course, there's not much in the league to contest the Tigers at this point in time. Now, who's going to get better along with them? Winston's going to leave Florida State, but they're going to stay strong. In their division, Boston College is going to lose their quarterback. Well, they take a step back. NC State looks like they're still lost out there. There really is no one else in their division. The opposite side, Miami looks like it might be getting it together a little bit. How long is Duke going to stay relevant? North Carolina looks, lost in the woods right now too. Is Virginia Tech ever going to get back to being Virginia Tech?
Oh, boy, that's
so.
Yeah.
I mean, Clemson's going to be very strong, and the league's going to be very weak. So it's not going to take a whole lot for them to roll through the ACC. They might roll through it anyway if the league was stronger. The league's not going to be particularly strong the way I see it right now, but Clemson is. And you're right. You look at who they lose on defense. Yeah, they lose some significant players on defense. They've got players who have played in reserve roles who can step in and help ease some of the losses. Losing Grady Jarrett will be big, but Carlos Watkins is ready to play. You mentioned Scott Pagano, DJ Reader's back. They lose their top three defensive ends, Crawford and Beasley and Barnes, but you got Shaq Lawson back. You've got Kevin Dodd back. You mentioned Okindeko. All the linebackers, they lose Stewart, they lose Anthony, but Kellen Jones is back. They've got Travis Blanks is back. O'Daniel's played some. He's back. TJ Burrell has played some. Corin Wiggins is back. Goodson is back. Boware's back. And then almost all the secondary's back. So, yeah, I think 15, 16, 17 stand to be years where Clemson could probably see itself in the playoff once, twice. If they're not there at least once, you should be very disappointed. I think realistically, with a healthy Deshaun Watson, guys, you could see them there a couple of times in the next 3 years.
Potential dangerous teams, you could tell that may be on this cusp. Pittsburgh, I love their running back, Connor. God, man, what a truck, and he's only a sophomore. You know Louisville's going to be dangerous because they're going to be his second year under Bobby Petrino.
Yeah,
I don't know how
mentioned Louisville.
Yeah, Louisville is going to be
Louisville
dangerous.
will probably be the other big threat along with Florida State.
I will say this. It's interesting. I think Clemson has the potential next year's Auburn, where your offense is going to bail out a defense as they grow during the season, because now the defense is bailing you out. Now, next year, Deshaun Watson will have a year under his belt. He'll be fresh from the injury. And he'll be ready to take control of that offense. And I think that offense is going to roll up some points to protect
the wild
defense.
card question here that we don't know is, what's the staff going to look like? Will Chad Morris be back next year, or will he be a head coach somewhere? Will Venables be back next year? Will he be a head coach somewhere? The way their two units are playing respectively, even though Clemson's offense hasn't been dynamic, I think most observers would point to the quarterback situation, that when Watson's in there, the dynamic side of the offense is back. Stout is able to be a functional quarterback for them for the most part, but they're just able to get by with him. I expect when Watson takes full time for the Georgia Tech game, you're going to see Chad Morris go deep into his bag of offensive tricks again and try and run up a big number and kind of get Clemson back in that fast-paced offense to get past Georgia Tech and then look ahead to South Carolina, because that countdown clock, it is still kicking.
They probably can't wait for that game. I mean, if you're Clemson now, I mean,
you think they've had a clock counting it down since
well, especially now. I mean, if you're Chad Morris, you're just chomping at the bit to get a piece of the Gamecock defense. Anybody, if you're a struggling offense right now, you just can't wait to play the Gamecock defense. And it's like a caller.
You could put New Jersey Tech up against South Carolina.
If they were just middle there, and there's no excuse. People talk about the youth, but they have a lot of guys that have been in the program 2 or 3 years, might not have played a lot, but they should not have fallen to this level. If they have a middle of the road defense in the SEC, 8 or 9 in the conference, they probably have 3 more wins right now.
That's why I said the problem is from the neck up. It's not the talent. It's so psychologically there's something wrong. And if I'm Clemson, focus on playing winning football. Focus on playing winning football, and you beat the Gamecocks. If you do like Georgia, yeah, we got Florida this year. Look how bad they are. And you walk out there like you got the game, then there's a problem.
I think Clemson, when it gets to the South Carolina game, and of course we'll talk a lot about that over the next few weeks, but they're going to come out with their mat on. I don't think there's any question about it. They're going to be focused and businesslike. And South Carolina, during this 5-game winning streak, well, really for 4 years in a row, because when the streak began, South Carolina maybe didn't have that confidence against Clemson that they've had during the streak. Now you wonder, with everything that's gone on, because South Carolina in recent years against Clemson would go out on the field thinking, we're going to take care of business. We got these guys. We know how to match up with them. We've got great game plans against their defense. I'm not so sure they're going to have that mindset. They appear to be just totally dysfunctional on defense.
Clemson will not have the mindset that we have to do something superhuman to beat this team, because let's remember, last couple of games South Carolina beat them, it was Clemson trying to do things that they normally don't do, calling a end-around pass on the first day of the game.
Muffing a couple punts.
And then you muffle a couple of punts because you're trying to make a play. I think they'll be more relaxed in this game. I don't think they'd come in the last few games against South Carolina.
I mean,
relaxed.
If you're South Carolina now, if you're Steve Spurrier, I mean, I'd just say, okay, we're not going to punt anymore. We'll just go for it on every 4th down. Onside kick it every time.
Should have done that the other night.
You have nothing to lose if you're South Carolina, but, teams can go bad, and this team, I think, has gone bad on the defensive side, and they need some sort of jolt.
Here's the problem for USC moving ahead after this year is that, like I said, you're going to have 8, maybe 9 defense. So maybe they get better because of that. There may be some changes on the defensive staff. Maybe they get better. The offense is probably going to take a big step back, because you do not know who your quarterback's going to be. You do not know how well he's going to play. Chances are you're going to lose Mike Davis to the pros, and you're going to lose Demir
and
Bird.
Brandon Wilds too, more than likely.
So you imagine the offense taking a step back. Back in a moment.
Obviously, very disheartening, disappointing.
All right, Steve Spurrier did not take questions from the media after the game Saturday. He's not having a news conference tomorrow since this is off week. However, he did talk with the media on his conference call yesterday, so we move his Talking Tuesday version up to a Mumbling Monday here on Sports Talk. And it is brought to you by South Carolina soybean farmers and their checkoff. Learn more at sesoybeans.org. Pork powered by soy. Do we begin with an answer here, K-Mac, or a question?
An answer.
It's an answer to what question?
An answer. Well, it's just him being very heartbroken over the loss.
Obviously, very disheartening, disappointing game last night. And we all lost it. Offense, defense, special teams, coaches, players. We all lost the game. Fans were super. They were there screaming and yelling, doing their part. And again, we didn't finish the game. We had our chances, as we know, and didn't get it done. So we're 4-5. Got 3 games left. We want to try our best to regroup. I thought we did have some enthusiasm, a lot of energy early in the game. Obviously, late didn't have as much as we needed, but we planned to regroup and go down to Florida, give them our best shot, come back home, and then go to Clemson. So that's where we are, and try to correct a lot of mistakes, see if we can coach a little better and play better, and try to win at least 2 of our last 3. Okay, any questions?
Hey, this is Dave. Just how difficult will it be to pick this team up and regroup and over the bye week and get ready for Florida?
Well, we've picked up, pretty well after Kentucky, after Missouri, after Auburn. Our guys are pretty resilient. One thing I think I can't say positive about the entire team. The guys did come to the ballpark, I think, ready to give it their best effort. And somehow as the game progresses into that 4th quarter, we're not quite as good for whatever reason. I think we've been pretty good all year about that.
What is your personal frustration like? I know you just feel like the freshman where are you first?
Well, obviously, I like to beat teams that look like you're supposed to beat. But it just, I've had some losses I'm not used to having, especially all together here this year. I mean, we've had, 3 or 4 that look like winnable games. Something's happened to us that these things haven't happened in the past. But I guess if you coach long enough, maybe the odds are you'll have some games like this. Certainly we've had our share this year. But again, we got to move on. You know, I'm not the only coach. This is a heartbreaking game, and you got to learn from them and try to get your team back ready to play the next one best you can. So that's what we're going to do.
You talked before, like maybe the 2009 season. You thought it's just too frustrating. I'm not sure I want to do this anymore. That thought process right now?
Oh, that thought process has hit me the last 10 years. When we have a game or two like this, and then you look at the big picture and try to regroup. We got a bunch of good players here. We really do, and we believe we got that on the way, Josh. We believe we got some defensive players on the way, and some offensive players too. So let's see how all that plays out.
This is Dave again. Looking at the overtime period, did you think you would be able to come out and hit some of those pass plays? It looked like the run was working pretty well.
Yeah, obviously when you call a pass play and you get sacked, you should have called a run. They played a bump and run man to man, and we had Taylor running a corner route, and pass pressure got us. Got us on the first down, got us on the second down. We didn't pass block very well those first 2 downs, and you know the best thing Dylan could have done was maybe throw it away somewhere, but he got caught with nowhere to throw it. He didn't have much time to throw it away. So it was they got pressure on the quarterback, and you know obviously we should have run the ball, but we didn't.
All right, there you go, Steve Spurrier from his Sunday conference call. Again, no news conference tomorrow from him, but Dabo Sweeney will have a news conference tomorrow. We'll have that covered for you here on Sports Talk Talking Tuesday. Back to wrap things up. Got a few final notes for you that we'll share coming up in a moment. right, several notes to leave you with here on Sports Talk in our final minutes tonight. First of all, from Clemson, Tiger All-American football, baseball star, Hall of Famer Dick Henley has passed away at his home in Greenville. Did so on October 31st. He was 88 years old and lettered 4 years in football, 3 years in baseball. Back in the 40s, a graduate of Greenville High School, 22nd round draft pick by the Steelers in 1951. And he was one of 6 players drafted off Clemson's 1950 football team. Speaking of the Tigers, Vic Beasley's been named one of the 20 semifinalists for the Bednarik Award that goes to the top defensive end in the country each year. The FCS rankings for this week, Coastal Carolina at 9-0, ranked number 3 once again behind North Dakota State and New Hampshire. The Southern Conference Defensive Player of the Week is Citadel cornerback Devontae Delaney, and a big game for the Bulldogs in their win on Saturday. He's out of Whale Branch High School. Big South Players of the Week, Coastal Carolina quarterback Alex Ross for the Offensive Player of the Week, and the specialist from Coastal Carolina is Alex Catron. Ross was 29 of 43, 351 yards, 2 touchdowns in the win over Gardner-Webb. Catron hit 3 field goals in 3 attempts and all 3 of his extra points. The coaches preseason women's top 25 has USC number 2 behind Connecticut, which is number 1. Then it's Notre Dame, Tennessee, Texas A&M, Stanford, Duke, Maryland, Baylor, Kentucky. See the score yesterday in the USC women's exhibition game against Coker?
125.
Yeah, the Cobras didn't have
much.
Fangs were defanged.
125.
I could have made it.
They shot, I think, like 12% or something for the game. North Carolina has suspended junior tailback Romar Morris for their next game, November 15th against Pittsburgh. He was charged with driving while impaired. So more news out of North Carolina. From the SEC, this note this evening, there's a report that LSU's defensive coordinator, John Chavis, has been given a 1-year extension. This is being reported by the Advocate there in Baton Rouge. His salary will be $1.3 million in 2015, the same as this year. Okay?
Not bad work if you can get it.
Not really. Not really. All right. That will do it. We appreciate all your phone calls tonight, your emails, and your stuff on Twitter. We thank you for that. Tomorrow night, Dabo Sweeney, Chip Weil from Darlington will be with us as well. We'll have more of your phone calls, catch up on the email, the Twitter stuff, and all the news of the day for you as well. Final thoughts, K-Mac?
The Lakers are 0-4, Corn.
And I am very happy about that. Pro, final thoughts?
I'll be relaxed. No more robo voter calls after tomorrow.
That's right. Get out and vote your conscience tomorrow. Have a great night, and we will see you tomorrow.